Dragon Stones, Book 1 of the Dragon Stone Saga. Written by Kristian Alva. Narrated by Adam Chase at Brickshop Audiobooks. Prologue. Dragon Hunters. The mountain air was chilly, and the sun had already set. Rosy light filled the valley as dusk settled on the mountainside. 13 men crouched warily in the low brush. These men were used to waiting outside these mountain caves. They whispered quietly, only when necessary. They were there on the direct order of Emperor Vosper, trained specifically for this purpose. These men were dragon hunters. Dragon hunters always travel with an apprentice mage who is proficient in protection spells. These hunters were protected by a powerful masking spell, which allowed them to get close to a dragon's cave without the adult dragons detecting their smell. The young mage, Dirkla, was pale with strain. He had been holding the spell for 2 days without sleep, and he could not hide his fatigue. So close to this birthing cave, even the slightest mistake could mean their doom. Captain Kathir cast another worried glance at the mage, who was shivering with exhaustion. Kathir knew that the mage's spell would eventually falter, but he would collapse before he would admit any fatigue. That's just the way the Emperor's wizards were taught. Never show any sign of weakness. Kathir frowned, but he didn't voice his concerns to the mage. All wizards were a foolish, stubborn bunch. The spell was designed to keep them from being discovered, but it didn't protect them from cold and hunger. All of the men were feeling the effects of the long surveillance. They were stretched to the limit. Kathir was exhausted, but he could not afford to go back to the Emperor empty-handed. Vosper was cruel when displeased. Kathir was a mercenary, not a villain. Dragon hunting was a job like any other, except that it was dangerous and paid extremely well. Kathir had seen over 30 winters, which made him the oldest in his troop. 30 was old for a mercenary, and even older for a dragon hunter. Kathir was stocky and tightly muscled, with deep scars on both cheeks, the flesh merchant's mark. It was a sign that he had once been a slave. The scars were deep, but faded with age. Not all merchants marked their slaves because any mutilation lowered their value, but it made them much easier to recover if they escaped. Kathir never discussed his past with his men, and none of them ever asked. He steadied his gaze again on the cave's entrance. His patience was rewarded. At that moment, 3...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?